Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Sting's 2003 album Sacred Love. It just hit its 20th anniversary and it's pretty alright overall, so now is a good time to review it. This is the track listing and these are the tracks I added to my playlist. 7 out of 10, so 70%, still pretty okay. This album is alright, but a lot of the songs sound the same and there's basically no variety in terms of sound, genre, or speed. Almost every song is a slow pop ballad. And while the songs are still technically different, the range is very small. The average quality is still decent, but the album gets pretty boring by the time you hit track 4 or 5. The final track, Sacred Love, is a decent ending. It helps mitigate the boringness of the middle of the album, but it doesn't undo it. Considering the lack of variety, this album almost flows well. Forget About the Future leads into This War quite well, and Stolen Car almost manages to speed up the album right when it gets pretty boring. But it really ultimately doesn't fix the fact that most of the tracks are slow and the same. Ultimately, I just don't particularly like this album. It doesn't have enough really good songs on it. Most of the tracks here are just slow and they're just alright. They're not really good. There was only one single released before the album, Send Your Love. No songs off of this album were particularly popular at the time. My favorite here is probably that same single, Send Your Love. It's the most upbeat track on the album, and it's got a dance remix that works pretty well, in my opinion. I rank this album 8th out of Sting's 12 albums, so in the middle of the bottom half. This album is basically in the middle of a bunch of his albums, which are all just alright. It's a little better than his first two albums, which both also lack variety, but it's not as good as The Bridge or Brand New Day, which each have some small variety and a few really good songs, but not enough to be as good as his good albums. Unsurprisingly, this album doesn't take my top spot from 2003. That stays with Pink's 2003 album, Try This, which is one of my favorite albums from her, and definitely a lot better than Sacred Love. Next up is Taylor Swift's newly re-recorded album, a 1989 Taylor's version. This one originally came out in 2014, and it's always been one of my more liked Taylor Swift albums, so I'm interested to see how she does it now. So stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.